So we've got Alex in the studio today. Alex is a tour player based here in the UK, and he's come into the studio to do a full power blueprint session. We're going to be talking about some swing changes that he's made recently. We're going to talk about his power sources. We're going to do a few exercises and drills on trying to understand what his power sources are and where his power blueprint lies. So really interested to having Alex in the studio today and looking forward to seeing what we find. So just tell me a little bit about the changes we've made in the golf swing recently. We've obviously gone to see a new coach recently. So what are these changes we're currently making? What issues are we starting to come up with for those changes?
So a lot of it was how my lower body moves through impact, especially in the transition from the top of the backswing. Mm-hmm. My lower body tends to fire early, and then my upper body gets stuck behind. So I was getting a quick left shot.
Fine.
So it's just basically trying to resist that for as long as possible in the downswing, and then everything connects and fires together.
Cool. Any types of feels or motions or drills that you're trying to then use to make that change a little bit easier?
So one drill I've been using is an alignment stick through the belt loop. So basically if that fires, the club hits it.
Yep.
So it's just to stall it and then everything can go together. And then there's a training aid called the leaderboard. It's basically trying to stall that right side for as long as possible.
So most of it's to do with stalling something rather than like, I'll try to explain this, rather than like actively breaking something. So what I mean by that is like you're trying to stop this right hip from moving as fast rather than using another force to delay that in a different way. Is that a fair comment? So instead of like pushing hard through the left foot, for example, to stop that motion, you're trying to actively delay this right side from going.
Yeah, correct.
Cool. You mentioned a little bit with like accuracy with iron play as well. So is that something that you think is linked closely to this move?
Yeah, just because the club then, because of this move, the club gets behind me.
Okay.
And then I'm relying on timing. So it's just to create as much time as possible.
So same thing there. You mentioned a little bit earlier when we were talking about short game, working a little bit on short game at the moment, trying to tidy that up. No problems there. You kind of know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, no, I'm doing that.
Good. So I think best thing for us to do today then is have a little look at the body, see what the body's doing. Let's see if there's a reason why this move is happening. There might be something physically that triggers that move for you, or a reason why that's becoming a little bit out of sync.
Yeah.
So we'll have a little look at that. We'll have a look at mobility. We'll have a look at strength and power as well. And then we'll get you to hit a few and see if we can come up with some ways that we can start to kind of tie these things together.
Yeah.
So whenever a golfer makes a swing change, we're always going to be interested to see what effect that's going to have on the way that they produce power. So one of the things that Alex has changed at the moment is trying to limit a lateral motion and a dissociation of the lower half from the upper half. And it'd be really interesting when we go into his power test to see what's the reason behind that move. Is there a reason why he's creating that move? And what potential change is going to happen to his speed when that's taken away? So we started with a mobility and stability test, looking at any restrictions that were limiting him from being able to play his best golf. In general, he was moving pretty well, but we definitely found a couple of areas that were linked to the way that he was swinging the golf club at the time. So two big things that I think we need to look at, which are linked to what you're seeing in the golf swing at the moment. One, inside right thigh is definitely a little bit stiff.
Okay.
So think downswing, right side. So you're talking about this kicking in a lot in the swing. Well, actually, we're pretty tight on this side. So if you imagine if I was to maintain this being down and try and rotate this way, you can see how this, you can actually see it through my trousers from my top, this system gets stretched from one shoulder all the way down to the opposite knee, right? This system for you at the moment is quite tight, inside right groin, okay? So that is gonna be more likely for us to wanna go that way a little bit, okay? Whether that's the reason why you do that, probably not. It's just that I think because you've maybe been trying to not do that a little bit over the last few weeks, it might get a little bit stiff. So it's something we need to watch out for when we're trying to make this move, okay? So we definitely need to create a little bit more space in this like right adductor space. And the other bit is just a little bit restricted through the torso. Okay. So I think we just free the torso up a little bit, free that up a little bit. Everything else I think is going to be pretty good. So we moved on to our power testing. This is where we're really interested to start getting into his power blueprint. And as always, we performed our 4 main power tests of vertical jump, chest throw, overhead throw, and shot put. Power testing, we're going to do one test for lower body power, one test for upper body power. We're going to do a test for core power, and we're going to do a test for rotational power. Okay. So for this, what we're thinking about is 4 main power sources in the golf swing. We've got a vertical thrust motion, we've got a rotational motion, we've got the arms being pulled down as a motion, and we've got the wrist as a release. So we're going to do a test for all 4 of those power sources and see which one of those is your strongest power source, right? So for all of these tests we're going to do, we'll find out the power, and then we're going to go and do a strength test that correlates with that, and we'll find out if it's strength or speed that's holding back the power, right? So that means you can then go away and start trying to work on those specific power sources, okay?
Yeah.
So from the 4 main power tests, his vertical jump was low, his chest pass was low, his overhead throw was low, but he did have one strength that stood out, and that was actually his right side rotation, which, funnily enough, is the exact move that he's trying to manage currently in his golf swing. So it's no surprise to us that he's having an aggressive rotation from the top with the lower half. He's really working hard through the lower body and through the torso, aggressively rotating, and it's something he's trying to limit in his golf swing at the moment, but it's actually his biggest power source. And this is what's always going to worry me when we're trying to make a change that's going to remove someone's powerhouse. We're always in a potential to lose power and lose distance. Power numbers in general are pretty low across the board, right? I would want you to be somewhere between 19 to 21 on our power numbers, and you're currently sat around 16 for upper body, core, and lower body, right?
Right.
But when we look at strength numbers are good. So it tells us that the reason we don't have a lot of power is because of speed. But your current ball speed is way higher than what we'd expect for these numbers. So it really tells us that you're utilizing your engine to its capacity, swinging huge amounts of efficiency. Golf club is obviously set perfectly for you, and you'll get the most out of your current body, right? Now, what was most interesting is the power source that was the strongest for you was your rotary power source, so the amount of rotation you can create. And one of the things you said you get a lot of is this kind of like spinning motion. And if you think, if I need to try and create some speed, which you do, and you create good amounts of speed for the amount of power that your body has, if I have a good rotationary power source, I'm going to try and use that as much and as early as possible. Right? Which for you has been this feeling of kind of like spinning out or getting dissociated with the lower body to the upper body. But at the moment, that's probably one of the reasons why you can hit it as far as you can hit it. Right? So what I'm interested in is if we take away that power source, we're potentially going to lose distance. Because that is your powerhouse at the moment. That's where you're creating all your speed. So what I would be more interested in is exploring the idea of, okay, well, can we add some of these other power sources so you don't have to rely as much on the rotary one?
So stabilize it, but not lose any distance.
Correct. So if we add, for example, some vertical. If we add some vertical, you don't need to rotate as much because now you've got an extra power source.
Got you.
Does that make sense? And funny enough, when we start to look at some of how we're going to use the ground a little bit, actually vertically pushing out the floor will stop the hips spinning as quick as well.
Because it's less side and it's more.
Exactly. And then we get a little bit more of an up motion. Believe it or not, from there, once we get this little bit more of an up motion, arms can work down a little bit more as well. So we can start to use a little bit more of this chop power source. And once we're in that position, we can let that thing go and actually use a little bit of extra wrist release as well. So something I like to try and test with players is when they're trying to make a change to their golf swing by trying to remove a certain movement. So for example, for Alex, maybe he's trying to remove this kind of kicking in of the right knee and moving of the hips. Instead of trying to remove something, I like to add something that counteracts it. So we're going to talk a little bit about adding some vertical force to his rotational move in an effort to quieten down his rotation. So instead of removing rotation when there's too much, which potentially can make us swing it slower, instead we're going to add an extra power source, which would mean that he doesn't have to rely as much on his rotation. So one of the things we can think about is as we work hard into this left foot, what that's going to do is it's going to take this motion of you sliding across to the left, and it's going to reverse it back the other way. Okay, so whenever we push into the ground, it's always going to push us back in the opposite direction. So at the moment, if you're kind of kicking a lot this way, it probably means you're not pushing very hard this way. Okay, so it means you're pushing a lot in this direction. So right foot is pushing a lot in this way, which moves you sideways. But if the left foot doesn't push back in the same way, you're just going to keep working that way, slide, and then get into the position you're going to go, right? So we're pushing nicely from the right foot, clearly, okay? We now need to get the same amount of push in from the left foot. Okay. Now, you spoke earlier about box jumps, and you said that you don't really like box jumps because you feel like you're kind of just going to like jump off one leg, and that's kind of how you feel. Well, it makes sense because if we're used to just pushing off this the right side, and that's the side you feel like you'd want to jump with, when we then get to the golf swing, if you feel like you're just going to jump off this right leg, you will go that way. Okay? If we were to push equally through both legs, we would go this way.
Yeah.
And if we were to push mostly through the left side, we would go this way.
Okay, so you want to push into that left side and then you can...
And that's going to clear you out.
Yeah.
So we went through a vertical force production drill where we're starting to get him to push harder through the left side, get him to add some rotation to this, and then adding the golf club to it. And we started to progress this all the way through from no golf club to adding a golf club to even adding a golf ball and hitting some shots like this. And we really started to see a difference in the way that his lower body was starting to move. He didn't need to think so much about the position he was trying to get rid of, and instead we just added this movement and it got him to move a little bit more athletically with a little more freedom of thought as well. So we've thought about winding up, loading, jump and swing, okay? We can now just dial that back a tiny bit to the point where we do jump, but we're obviously gonna make some kind of contact. So it's kind of a down left foot. Make our practice swings if you want. Smack the ground, go on, smack the floor a couple of times.
Feels very like this.
Yeah, it's good. Suddenly added a little bit of vertical. Pumped. Can you feel the difference of like suddenly now your force in your brain is not being produced by you spinning?
Yeah.
Your force is like, how much can I push into the floor here and get out that thing? But it matches to your late rotation you've been working on.
Yeah. It's weird though, because as like a golfer, I'm thinking more technical golf swing is in, right, I'm pushing here, so everything's now closer to the ball. Mm-hmm. So then I have to back out earlier, otherwise I'm going to shank it and do that.
Or you're just not going to smack the ground behind the ball, right? So suddenly now what you're doing is you're creating space because this is lifting, which now means you can release this thing down.
Yeah.
Now you've got loads of space to like reach down to the golf ball and create loads of speed. Handle's going to work up, club head's going to work down as handle works up. You should hit a little bit further even. Again. Down, drive up. So much for pushing out that left leg.
Yeah. Yeah, it's even like the first little bit, see it's like trying to push into it. Tell by the toe tap.
Yeah, toe tap out of nowhere, right? It wants to push.
Yeah.
But suddenly like it now wants like we get some good extension through that side. I mean that's it's a nice move. It's a nice move. But what you're now starting to do, you're actually using that as a good source.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm using the ground because I've lost height, but not in a bad way. As in I'm getting down to go up, which usually I tend to stay up and back.
Do you lose height on the way back?
Sometimes I do.
Okay, so that should stop that, because if anything, for you to get down, you're going to have to get up.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to get up to get down to get back up again the other side, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because it almost helps your backswing without thinking about it, because my tendency is to get a bit down and left, whilst down and left, then it's hard to push up. You need to get more laterally.
You need to get off it to get down. Yeah, you need to be able to back off to be able to go down to get back out again.
Yeah, because it's hard to move anywhere when you're here.
When you're just there.
Because I'd shift back like this.
Yeah.
So
hit one more for me.
It's interesting. I'll do my technical work, say Monday to Friday, and then Saturday when I'm doing a speed session, be like, right, really get as deep down in that, because I could probably swing a normal 8 iron like 92, but I feel like this would probably be more 95-ish, and then get into that.
But what it's going to do is going to be a 95 using a power source that's not going to damage the swing work that you're trying to make, right?
100%.
So if you did your swing work Monday to Friday, and then went and did a speed session with aggressive rotation that you've been trying to get rid of from Monday to Friday, you've got a bit of a conflict going on, right?
100%.
Whereas if now you're like, okay, I'm trying to get rid of that motion, so here's another power source I'm going to add in that complements that. Then hopefully those two should work.
Yeah, because it's not neglecting the work I've done Monday to Friday, it's complementing it
in
some ways.
Correct.
Right, that's...
Go on, give us one more then. So it's been an absolute pleasure having Alex in the studio today for his power session. Really interesting information that we've gathered from this that he can take away now and start to build out. For sure, he's maximizing the engine he currently has, so we definitely need to put some work into building a bigger engine for him. More speed exercises in the gym is definitely going to be included when I start to do some programming for him. And we also need to think a little bit more about how we can start to introduce some more vertical force production in the gym and start to use that power source in his golf swing a little bit better. It's going to control the move that he's trying to control at the moment. It's going to increase the amount of force production he's creating through the ground, and he's going to limit his need for being so aggressively rotational. So some changes that need to be made in the gym program for sure, and definitely some movements that he can take away to his golf swing. But it's been a pleasure having Alex in the studio. Look forward to seeing him back, seeing the progress that we've made.